Well, that wasn't great. I just got a stern talking to from the authorities telling me that I should not be doing this here. That's fine. Well, it's first thing in the morning up here on the mountain. Yesterday it was really nice. It was dry, it wasn't raining, it was a little cold, but it was nice as weather as you could possibly ask for living on a mountain in Oregon in January. And I thought to myself last night, I was like, man, I should just go outside and get started. I was like, no, I'll be patient. I'll start tomorrow. I've been sitting there this morning watching some YouTube, waiting for the sun to come out, and I could hear the rain. And I looked at the forecast for the weather. It says 100% chance of rain today and tomorrow. All weekend, my whole weekend, it's gonna rain. Nothing I can do about it. So I have a canopy, like a pop-up tent that I'm gonna use to try to stay dry. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do about the camera yet. I'm gonna take my car, which is over there. I'm gonna take it out this entry road, maybe about 100 yards down the road. There's a concrete pad. It's part of a big field that they use for like auxiliary parking and camping and stuff. I'm gonna move my car over there just so that I'm out of the parking lot and not in people's way, and I have lots of room to work. And I'm gonna get started. You know, I'm probably gonna get a bit wet and grumpy, and I'm not sure how this is gonna go. I've been reading the instructions and looking at some videos online about how to install this whole lift kit, and it looks a little bit more complicated than I thought it was, but I'm confident that I can do it. It's just a matter of how long it's going to take. And the big thing is whether or not I'm going to have to run to town for any other tools or parts or anything that I don't have, which is really going to be the big pain, because it's at least 30 minutes even into the smallest town. It's an hour into the big town, so hopefully I can just slap it all together and this goes smoothly. Hope you guys will ride along with me.
To go easy on social media, there.
Alright, real quick, just so you guys can see what I'm working with. There's actually this outbuilding here, which has like a little, it's almost like a carport. I would love to just pull my car into it, but unfortunately there's this like zero steer riding lawnmower in here. It's taking up most of the room. Can't quite get my car in here. If I had the key, I would just move it outside and I would pull my car in here, but unfortunately there's no key left in it, and I'm probably not authorized to use it, so I'm just gonna leave it where it is. This will make a nice little area for I'm gonna keep my tools in here where they will stay dry, and I'm gonna set the camera in here where it will stay dry, which will be nice. And then I've attached the canopy just right to the side of it, so I kind of can walk back and forth. Even if it gets crazy out here today, I should stay fairly dry. I've already got the car up on jack stands, and yeah, nothing to it but to just start taking it apart and see what happens. I sure miss the days when I had a garage, but unfortunately that is just not in the cards right now. Someday I will have a garage again, and I will appreciate it even more for having had to spend this time working in the great outdoors. If you don't have a garage and you work outside, then you know what I'm talking about. It's a struggle and everything's a little more difficult, but you know, you make do. If you care about this and this is your passion, then you're gonna do what you gotta do, and you know, sitting on your ass won't finish your projects. Well, I already knew this was gonna happen. Now I take the walk of shame all the way back to my apartment, try to grab a tool that's gonna work, because I don't have what I need. I've already hit a roadblock. I've got the first corner of the front end all torn apart, and the kit came with these adjustable camber upper ball joints. They're supposed to go in the upper control arm. And the problem is that the ball joints are just pressed in. And I didn't read the instructions before I started this, of course. And apparently you're supposed to have like a special ball joint press to get it out. Well, I don't have that. What I do have is an angle grinder. So I could try just cutting it apart. But I would love to not do that. I'd love to get it out in some semblance of the same direction and manner that it's supposed to come out. So I'm gonna go grab a C-clamp, see if I can find a socket that's big enough to fit over this thing, and see if I can press it out. If that doesn't work, then I may call, there's a Napa down in town. I might see if they have this tool. I might go rent it or buy it if I have to. And last resort would be to just cut the thing out. I think that would work. I don't need to use this upper ball joint again, but it'd be nice to have spares. And it'd be nice just to be able to say that I did it right. So let's see what I can make happen here. Had to walk back, but I will be driving the Jeep back. Because fuck walking. Well, it's gonna be my first run into town of the day. Gotta take the Jeep since the Civic is all torn apart. But the good news is that Napa has that tool, and it's like a free rental. You gotta put a down payment deposit on it. But I guess as long as you put the deposit on it, then you bring it back in like 7 days and it's a free rental. So that seems like a pretty decent deal. Can't complain too much about that. It just sucks that I have to drive 30 minutes into town to grab it and bring it back. But yeah. It is what it is type of situation. This is what happens when you live in the middle of nowhere. I'm gonna just kind of clean up this area over here by the Civic real quick. Just put all my tools in a dry spot. Boy, haven't driven the Jeep in a few days. It feels weird. Anyway, and yeah, we'll catch up when I have the right tool for the job. Okay. I'm back. Ran all the way to town. I grabbed this kit from Napa. Basically, the way Napa's tool rental works is you pretty much just pay for the whole tool, take it home, take your receipt. As long as you bring it back in 7 days, they don't care if you use it. It's obvious you're going to use it. It's a rental. And you bring it back, they give you a full refund, so it costs you nothing. Or if you decide you just want to keep the thing, you can just keep it. In the case of a pickle fork, I ended up just keeping it. It was like 25 bucks, and I was like, yeah, I'll probably use a pickle fork again. This thing was like $150 something. Pretty steep. And I figure I'll probably never use it again after this, because the ball joints that I'm putting in like thread together on the control arm. They don't press in, so I probably don't need this after this lift conversion, so I will probably be returning this as soon as possible, get my money back. But for now, it seems to be the thing that I need in order to get these ball joints installed, so let's get at it. Well, that wasn't great. I just got a stern talking to from the authorities telling me that I should not be doing this here. That's fine. Also, I finally got the stock ball joint out. I basically just got it barely started with the press, and then I beat on it with a hammer and it came right out. Unfortunately, it is absolutely whooped now. I bent the end of it, I jammed the castle nut on there, it won't come off anymore, and I'd obviously never put that back in a car, but that's fine. I was going to try to save them for spares, but whatevs. At this point, I'm more concerned about just getting the lift kit installed, car ready to drive again. And so far, we're not doing so well. It occurred to me after I drove all the way to town that what I really should have done is continued on with my installation and seen if I ran into any more roadblocks. That way I could just make one trip to town, get whatever I needed, and come back. But I did not do that, so that's great. I wasted an hour of daylight. Anyway, I guess I'm going to keep pressing on, and we're going to see how much farther I can get. Okay, progress report on the Ute. It has been hours. I am dirty. I will say that this was not as easy as I anticipated. I thought that this would go together really easily, and it has not. The number one complication that I had is that I did not realize that the kit basically calls for you to disassemble the struts. It tells you to take the top hats off, rotate them 90 degrees, put them back on, put the strut back together, slap it in the car. It says that because the spacers, the bolt holes where they're going to bolt to the body, are 90 degrees out from where the strut bolts to the spacer. So you have to turn the top hat 90 degrees so that the spacer bolts go into the body where the strut used to. That makes sense. Well, I was not prepared to take a strut apart. I do not have spring compressors. If you've ever messed with taking a strut apart before, you know how sketchy and dangerous it can be. And I just wasn't with it, so I didn't do that. I did not take the strut apart, but I still had to turn the top hat 90 degrees. I accomplished that by taking a ratchet strap, hooking it to the coil spring, compressing the coil spring with the ratchet strap, and then turning the top hat with the top hat still on the strut. I know you're thinking that that sounds super dangerous, but you have to understand that even when I was compressing the spring, if the ratchet strap had broken, it wouldn't have been able to go anywhere because the top hat was still there. Like when you release the ratchet strap, it would just go BAM and slam back into the top hat. It couldn't fly off into the distance or anything because the top hat was still attached. So it was really relatively pretty safe. In my opinion, it was much safer than trying to disassemble the struts. I didn't record any of that because honestly it was so tricky and time consuming that it just would have made for terrible watching anyways, but you get the idea. The other thing that was a little complicated was getting the ball joints out, the stock ones. The upper ball joints are just pressed in from the factory, but they're pressed in really good. And I do not think that I could have gotten them out without the press machine from Napa that I rented. If Napa would have had coil spring compressors, I probably would have rented them too, but they didn't have them any at that location, and I would have had to drive about another hour into town and back to go to a different location where they did have them. I just decided it wasn't worth it. I had the idea that I'd be able to turn the top hat with the struts still assembled, and that's exactly what I did. Honestly, I think that it was a better and safer option anyways. Anyway, I have the fronts done, both sides. I'm going to go through one more time and just do a bolt check and make sure everything is nice and tight. And then I'm going to pull the car out, spin it around, back it in, and start working on the rear. My understanding from the instructions is that the rear is going to be easier. I did the hard part first on purpose. hopefully that is the case. And the rear goes smoothly because I'm starting to run out of steam. And it also just started to rain. I will say that it stayed mostly dry on me though while I was doing the front, which I really appreciate. It does make things easier. Been using this picnic table over here as my workbench. And yeah, let's get back to it. I'm interested to see what it's going to look like when I set it on the ground with just the front lifted. well, 2 times I tried to record myself installing the rear suspension, and 2 times my camera died on me. So I had to go get another battery. But yeah, it's all in there. Because I got the Ultimate kit, it came with these little spacers that you put on the trailing arms. Those were super easy to put in. I thought they were going to be much more difficult, but they were not bad. Honestly, the whole rear was super easy. The struts, you don't have to turn the top hats, you just bolt them together. You have to cut a little tiny smidge off of the studs, just like in the front, but other than that, it just slaps right together. I will say that after having bolted all of this up, I can guarantee this car is going to need an alignment to track even relatively straight. I'm not good enough to just eyeball the camber adjustments and get everything correctly. And the front control arms have like ovalized slots so that you can adjust there as well. And I just, put them back together wherever they fell. So it's probably going to drive a little wonky until I can get an alignment. And I'm going to take it to an alignment shop, and they're going to tell me we can't align this garbage. And I'm going to say, just do the best you can. Anyway, yeah, I'm pretty much ready to put the wheels back on it, set it on the ground. I need to finish adjusting, or at least try to set the rear camber adjustables somewhere that I kind of like them. Alright, well, I guess we lifted. Let's see if I can get it to focus here. And do keep in mind that this is by no means the final wheel set for this car. The wheels and tires are just rollers for now to get us by. They look pretty goofy on there. The fronts are 15s, and I do think that that is the size that I'm gonna keep in the front as far as tires go. They look pretty good in my opinion. However, the rears are 13s. They're the stock wheels from this car, and they look just tiny, goofy, pretty silly with the car lifted. But that's just temporary for now. It's just what I had laying around while I wait on my new wheels to come. Like I said that in the last video, they should be here next week. Look at that gap. Oh man, that is pretty wild. Anyway, I'm tired and dirty. I think I'm gonna take it for a quick spin and just see what it drives like, but I don't expect a lot considering that it doesn't have much of an alignment on it at all. And I don't know about scheduling an alignment. I'm probably gonna have to wait until my payday, which is next week as well. So until next week, this thing's probably just gonna be on hold now, but it looks cool. I got a lot of the work done today, and I'm pretty stoked on that. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you'll stick with me to the end of this project. Still got a lot of stuff planned for this thing. Just a little bit at a time here and there when I get the chance, get the money and the time. But yeah, we lifted, boys. It's pretty crazy. I've thought about doing this for years and years, and I did not anticipate that this would be the car that it would happen on. Didn't anticipate that this is now that when I'd be doing it, but sometimes that's just how life works out. Alright. I drove it up and down my entry road twice just to see if it sounded like anything was going to fall off. So far, everything seems fine. The alignment doesn't even feel that bad. It doesn't feel any worse than it was before, we'll say that. So, I'm going to try to take it out on the highway and just see what happens. Here we go. Oh, camera fell over. First thing. It's great. It's good for it, you know. It's what you want to do to your electronics, is just bounce them around violently in the car. Yeah, you guys can't see anything, it's fine. That's fine. The heat in here is like almost too much. 35. New speed record for the lifted Civic. 40. Not really anything weird so far. The steering feels a little lighter. Not sure why that is. The heat works like way too good. Already like too warm in here and it just left. Pretty happy with the stance. It's not quite as tall as I expected it would be, but I'm not altogether mad about it. I didn't want this thing like lifted to the sky. I've seen 6-inch lifted Civics and people tell me that they drive terrible, and one of the big things about doing this is that I really wanted to preserve the drivability of this car. I wanted it to still be drivable. I want to drive it to work. I think that there's no sense in having a car if you can't drive it. That's just me personally. I understand that, you know, some people like to build toys, build wheelers, build a project that isn't meant for the road, but it just doesn't really appeal much to me. If I'm going to spend a lot of money building a car, I want to be able to drive it places. That was my neighbor. It's probably really loud in here. I have
studded snow tires on the front right now, and they make a ton of road noise, especially when there isn't snow on the ground. But they work excellent when there is snow on the ground, which is why I have them. I'm really looking forward to getting my new wheels and a new tire package for this thing now that I've done the lift kit. That's going to be pretty excellent. You'll notice that I haven't driven in a straight line since I left my house. I haven't been over 40 because I've been in like windy curves, and I'm not trying to just immediately rally this thing around corners. That seems unsafe. So I'm going to wait until I get a bit of a straightaway to really give it any sort of a speed test. So far I've had it up to like 40, 45, and I don't feel any sort of weird vibrations or pulls or anything. It did behave a little weird just now on like a dip out. I'm sure it's going to have some handling characteristics that will take a while to get used to. Driving